When I first got the email from Doug, I used to work in Kansas City in graphic design, and I worked with a guy that was a good friend of mine, Doug Schumacher, and every day. And so all of a sudden I got the email. When he first called you, I was like, Doug, hey, what's going on? And he's like, I'm glad you called because I'd like you to speak at one of our things. Remember, we met at these two different things. So it's kind of funny because when I get on average maybe 200 emails a day that just dump on me, and which is fine, get a lot of information and stuff. But I saw that Doug Schumacher too, and I'm like, oh wow, a friend of mine. Usually they're finding me on Facebook or something along those lines. So I appreciate you allowing me to come and speak to you today. I have two presentations though. I mainly want to come and talk about the consumer and what we've done in some of our research and how they view energy efficiency, and a little bit of electric vehicles. It's pretty granular. It's going to be kind of tough slides on some of them, but I wanted to share it with you if you like. Otherwise, I've got the condensed version, which Doug has seen me kind of go through, but the bigger version actually is, it gets pretty granular. It's very, very good though. It's very, very important information. I think it affects, if you're in the solar business, or if you're, obviously everybody in here is in the energy efficiency business and advocating change and these kind of things. I'll let you know a little bit about what we're doing at Best Buy and what we're doing as an enterprise, as well as a customer-facing solution, which is what I'm to provide. And then, I don't know, would you like the super detailed information and kind of to generate kind of the discussion, or do you want me to breeze through an easier presentation? I like sitting through the really detailed, granular stuff because it's I don't know why I've come to love it, but it's part of the territory. Anyway, so I am. Okay, so within Best Buy, so we're a longtime Minnesota company. Started almost 41 years ago, 1968, 1969. So started as Sound of Music, started in St. Paul, 2 stores. Dick Schultz, our founder, mortgaged his house 3 or 4 times to make sure that he could keep the business alive. Of course, it was wiped out in the big tornado. I wasn't around here yet, but there was a massive tornado, and it wiped out the 2 most profitable stores. And they were trying to figure out what to do with the company as well as what to do with the stuff. So they got together. Dick actually had an idea to put everything in a warehouse and try to sell as much of it as possible. And apparently in that warehouse, the traffic was so backed up that the police had to come and direct traffic. They had so many customers at that moment. He had the idea that a big box was the way to go, and that was the beginnings of Best Buy, and then shortly thereafter they changed their name from Sound of Music to Best Buy, and then went through all the machinations. We're a $50 billion company. We're a global company. We have there's Best Buys in London. There are Best Buys that will be closed in China, but we also have another entity in China called 5 Star, and that's 125 stores. So so we're not closing or exiting China. We're just the Best Buy brand and the way we do things versus the 5 Star brand is actually the more powerful brand. They're just like in Canada, we have Best Buy Canada, and we also have Future Shop. So we have many brands, all with the same culture and the same core values and beliefs of Best Buy. And so we're quite large in that respect. I'm sure that you would like to know a little bit about what we do as an enterprise in terms of energy efficiency. When I first joined Best Buy and I became a merchant, every time I was on a plane and I sat next to somebody and I said I worked at Best Buy, it was always the same question. I have a PC and I really can't get it to work right. What am I supposed to do? And I would say, well, at that time even, we didn't have the Geek Squad yet. I would say, I really can't help you because I don't know what PC you have, and my role is to do broadband things. And now, when I'm, as I left I was at the ARPA-E conference in Washington last week, looking at some of the great investments that ARPA-E is making into some of these young companies and batteries and things of that nature. And of course, I'm riding in a cab, trying to get to the airport as quickly as possible, and I'm the single. I jump in the cab. They immediately say, "Hey, who are you? Where are you from? What do you ask? You know, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I was still wearing my badge." And of course, they said, "Oh, you're with Best Buy. Every TV in your store, does it have to be on?" And I said, "Well, yes, they actually kind of do." And so we got into, so the new debate that I'm having on a regular and frequent basis is, your stores are so, they're eating up so much power, and everything in that store is plugged in, and that is absolutely true. It is plugged in, everything's plugged in there. But some of the things you don't know about some of the stores and what's going on with the TVs in the stores, they're actually all calibrated to be at their most energy efficient rate. So we've also asked all our merchants and all our manufacturers to stop shipping the TVs that we buy at full-on brightness. So that was quite a feat. I don't think that people understand that, you know, a TV manufacturer A wants the brightest picture so that their picture looks better than TV B, TV C. Also, Best Buy's brand insignia, that TV was the first TV to come out with an Energy Star 1 and Energy Star 2 rating. So we're very, very conscious, and also having green packaging and things of that nature. So we're very conscious about that. We're doing all kinds of things from an environmental sustainability team perspective to reduce the power consumption in the stores, from different lighting, from adjusting the lighting. We've even explored some solar, but that has something to do, we lease all those properties, so putting solar isn't exactly something we can readily or do without quite a bit of discussion. If you've driven by the Eden Prairie store, you've seen the wind turbines that we have up there. So that was an exploration that I did as an experiment. Those are commercial wind turbines, but they were representing some of the residential wind turbines as well, to see what we would gauge the consumer interest in wind power and such like that. We also have an incredible recycling program, and I'll get into it. But is everybody familiar with Best Buy here? I hope. So my speaker fee has to be paid for by your purchases. Just in case you didn't know, Best Buy's got 136 locations now. We have Magnolia Audio Video, which is a bit more of a high-end audio video store. There's 300 store within a store. Pacific Sales, there's 34 locations. In California, there's 5 stores that have store within a store. Pacific Sales is also a high-end appliance dealer on the high end, similar to Magnolia. Audio Visions is a very high-end integrator of solutions like this, so building these types of rooms. Best Buy Mobile, there's actually now 110 locations that are in mall locations, all selling the mobile variety that we have, and then they're in 400 plus stores. And of course, we got the Geek Squad agents in North America, about 16,000 agents strong. They are all Best Buy employees as well. So a lot of people are shocked to find out that the Geek Squad is all Best Buy employees. The traffic, I like to show the traffic in there because these are all the opportunities that we have to talk about energy efficiency, or talk to customers about why they want to get one product versus another, and why they might want to choose something for one reason or another. So we also have a very strong sustainability policy at Best Buy. So the building that we have, the big corporate headquarters, which I think is looks awesome as you drive by it, you know, but it's actually one of the most energy efficient headquarters in Minnesota. Xcel Energy on a regular and frequent basis brings potential business headquarter type companies to come and look at our building, the design of the building, how energy efficient it is, and how we turn off the lights and things like that. So if you're working past 6:30 in the evening, which I often do, the lights do shut off on you and you're working in the dark for a little bit. And we're also very conscious about the kind of refuse that we have. So every bathroom has both garbage and recyclables. Every floor has an area called an oasis that has 4 different types of trash cans. So we're pretty darn good as a corporate entity to make sure that we're recycling, make sure that we're doing all the right things and getting rid of our refuse in a very meaningful way. We also believe that our sustainability policy also has to do with our people and our employees and our customers. So we are regularly and frequently talking with our employees and with our customers about what we can do to be better. We also know that technology, oddly enough, and we'll talk about some of this, And there is a population in the country that does want technology to help them become more energy efficient. And you can do that through what I would call HEM devices or home energy management devices to help you understand your consumption, to help you make good, positive choices, and also relevant consumption and relevant choices to then change your behavior in a way that still allows you to live the life that you want to live, but be energy efficient with little or no effort. Our employees and our relationships to the customers, as well as the communities, the local communities, are actually also part of the sustainability and corporate responsibility part of Best Buy. We're very focused on the local communities that we serve. We're very focused on how things are going in that. We participate in a lot of events that are just like this, as well as other community volunteer events. And so we're with 100,000 retail, with about 130,000 retail employees in North America. We've got a very powerful community presence, and that's very, very important to us as well. One of the things I might call out here is the At 15 program. If you're not familiar with it, you can always just type in At 15 on Google. It's a program that we use for 15-year-olds who we believe actually they're in that transition period. They do all kinds of things. It's a community. It's a web-based community. They do all kinds of crazy things, like they vote on music. They do all kinds of different actions. Best Buy actually asks them key questions, and groups actually solve 4 issues. And one of the primary things that they requested on that particular location was enough information about how to get their homes more energy efficient. So there's energy efficiency information and all kinds of suggestions and things like that. So very important community. What they did 2 years ago was we held a contest for music. And I believe that at that time there was about 1 million 15-year-olds who were participating in this. And through it wasn't an American Idol type program, but it was something sort of like that, where they kept posting their videos and things like that. Very active community. And by the time we got down to the single winner, she was not only presented with an award and an ability to play at our charity auction, which then I think Elton John then played after. She played her music for a half hour, and then she also got a recording contract from Sony. And then she also got, 1,000 stores, you get premium placement. And so she went on her merry little way to begin that music career, all voted by that group. And Best Buy, all we did was make connections for her. It's a very important program, and I think it does a lot of good. And it's also tied to the Charity Foundation, which does a lot of scholarships as well. We believe we have a strong stake in what's going on in energy efficiency. So I'm sorry about the granularity of the slides, but we know that we have to be part of the solution. Otherwise, we're really part of the problem, because everything we sell is part of the landfill challenges, which is why we have the recycling program and some of these other programs, so that we can help our customers actually make better decisions. In fact, the buyback program is a good example of a way to come back. If you bring that technology back to us, we'll also ensure that it gets recycled and broken down in the proper way, and also ends up in the proper areas or refurbished or anything of that nature. So we're very, very focused on our recycling program. Yeah, we do. We operate the most comprehensive, and we'll get into some more detail on that. Okay, so this is even tinier, so I'm not going to make you, let me just read it to you. So this is my area. This is the team that I work with on a regular basis. So, if you can read it, as a nationwide recycling program, this is a really interesting program. 3 years ago, we decided to experiment with it, and then we finally got into it. And we got into it because the executive team said it's the right thing to do, and we must do it. It wasn't, it was less a financial decision than anything else. So we accept any consumer electronics from wherever they came from. It's not a Best Buy. If you buy it at Best Buy, then we'll do it. The program is almost completely free, but when it comes to the CRT screens and TV screens, there's a $10 charge, of which as soon as we're going to charge you $10, we hand you a $10 gift card so that we can pay for some of the breakdown costs that go there. We also do a similar thing with appliances, and we do it also in conjunction with utility partners. So we if you're buying appliances from us, we'll come out and pick up your existing appliance and make sure that it gets broken down and recycled and or refurbished and taken to the right location. The program currently operates across North America. And when this came out, we have already got our trade-in program going, so that's part of the recycling program as well. So the technology doesn't end up in the wrong hands, or it doesn't end up in the wrong place, and then it gets broken down and we can track it. So we also do audit all of our partners in that recycling program as well. There's also a kiosk that is in Best Buy's corporate headquarters, as well as every store, where you can drop off batteries, you can drop off all kinds of different things, and then we'll recycle those as well. And then there's cable cords. Now the Geek Squad, when they come to your home and they're replacing product, they'll actually take away your old product as well. So we have programs for that. That also goes for appliances. The one thing we can't grab is if you've got one of those TVs like my mom and dad had, which is this tall, that big around, and it takes an engine hoist to get it out. Our guys just aren't equipped to do that necessarily. We also do a lot of warehouse recycling, so the vast majority of our cardboard, plastic, film, styrofoam, and everything, that all gets taken to the right place. Recycling results. In 2009, we're still waiting for the final data. On 2010, our fiscal year goes from March 1st to February 28th, so we're wrapping up. We're just now into our new fiscal year with 300 million pounds of consumer products. So that just looks to grow greater and greater. And we're actually picking up other partners for doing other things to push more customers to bring the products to us. Standards in auditing, we audit everything. We audit all of our providers. So we want to make sure that what we're doing is very right and very good. And then the destination for the commodities. So it's a big operation, but it also actually saves. So if you think about it, a truck that empties at a store doesn't deadhead anywhere else. It fills up with the recycling and goes around, picks up more of the recycling. So we're being more efficient about that. Even the small things like making sure the trucks are all turned off when they're unloading at the dock. Those are things that they might seem like little things, but when you think about 1,000 stores and the engine and the supply chain and the churning and things like that of the product, it actually does have quite a large impact. This is a little bit dated, but it gives you kind of an idea when it comes to Energy Star products. So based on all the Energy Star qualified products we sold, this is 2008, that's a lot of savings. 1,212,703,000 pounds of carbon taken out. So then so we're doing all that we can, or at least what we can, and we continue to improve. So there is a complete team that is environmental sustainability. There's a team that's corporate responsibility and sustainability. And then there's teams like mine, which are looking at how do we bring more energy efficient products to market. Okay, so now we're going to get into the granular customer data stuff. So there's one thing that's going on right now within energy efficiency and within a connected world and within everything else that's going on. So if you think about how connected you are right now, does everybody have a cell phone? Does everybody have smartphones? You don't have a smartphone? Mine drove off in a cab last week. So I was 3 days not connected. It was actually quite pleasant. Because I began to realize how much I do check because I have an iPhone, not because I had to have an Apple, but some of the apps that are available, those are actually very, very important to what I'm doing in energy management, because there's an energy management app that will be deposited on my phone, and I can manage my house from my iPhone. So not only are you connected with that, but you're connected with everything else. So every product that's now coming out, if you buy any product in Best Buy, chances are it's going to want to connect to the net, adding more noise and system to your network. So customers are still trying to figure out this connected world and what it means. And then there's also, you add in the social media perspective, you add in all the different channels. So walking into a store, you're grabbing your smartphone, taking a look at the information that shows up because the store's registering, you're getting Groupon coupons, or you're getting Shopkick or Kickbucks, or you're getting Foursquare type information. You're actually getting more information than you ever possibly could use. And then if you're like me, you're also getting all these emails. So when you're sitting at home trying to decompress, you hear the little chime. All of a sudden you're reading I get texts, people know if I'm not answering my emails that they'll start texting me because they know that I can cheat in a meeting and start answering where I won't necessarily answer emails. Anyway, we're getting into an overload situation, but consumers and customers and people want to have a level of connectivity. And so I'll show you why that means something to energy management. And then there's being the critical dependency on this stuff in the consumer's lives. Certainly at the younger ages, you start seeing a real desire to stay connected. Texting, actually, through a lot of customer interviews that I've had, if they're under the age of 20, they actually prefer not to use the phone for anything but texting. So I had some interns working with me last year, and they were like, I never use my phone as a phone. I hate talking on the phone. I just text. And so I was like, geez, that's crazy. What's wrong with you? And so it was just kind of that interesting thing. So, and then connecting the old with the new. So what do I have in my house now and stuff like that. So there's some stress associated with that. So here's the thing that really starts to this will affect the energy management adoption. So there are 200 million connectivity-enabled devices in U.S. households now. So your wireless router is a good example, a TiVo, things like that. All these devices are connected, and there's 366 million connectivity-enabled devices forecast. So it's not going to get smaller. You're not even going to know it. Your TV is going to show up. You're going to get a newer TV, and it's going to want to grab your wireless network. It's going to want to talk to something else, and yet less than 20% of us will connect anything more to that router than just our laptop. So me and my wife, her laptop and Facebook, me and work. That's it. And we have our TiVo hooked up, but we're really not using that. And that correlates also to energy efficiency. That statistic is almost identical to thermostats. So programmable thermostats. Programmable thermostats are VCRs with blinking 12s. If they don't know how to program them or they get misprogrammed or something like that, right there is a tremendous amount of energy wasted. And in fact, even the newer homes, like a newer home where they have what it looks like a digital thermostat, it's not programmable. It's just got a digital readout. It might as well just have the dial. But it doesn't do anything, it doesn't adjust, it's not making it. When I did my first house assessment and then I had a home energy audit, the first assessment was $435, and when I got the full audit, it was like $600-700 a year that I could save making sure that the thermostat is doing its job, and then a little bit of lighting, and then trying to reduce the heat that's in my garage, and maybe a little bit more insulation. And which, by the way, the Geek Squad agent did my home energy audit. So I've got them out there doing that. Very important, because this is what's happening with energy efficiency, and this is also inhibiting some of the adoption. There's also the ability to actually sell it and tell people about it. So this is a value equation we use all the time, which is the value of your experience in our store or any one of our channels has to be greater than the difficulty of getting the products and services you want, and then the complexity of the products themselves. So the biggest example is our routers, wireless routers. If you walk up to the wireless routers 4-foot section, they all look the same. They all have little different things on it. So one says G, one says A+, one says G, or dual band N+. They have different prices, but even within the manufacturer, the same product looks exactly the same. It's just N, or it's N+, or it's G, or it's B, and there's all these different prices. Very hard to also articulate why you would want an N+ router for $179. Do you want to throw content? You want to unplug something? Or you want to shoot TV content, radio content, stuff like that? Very hard to demonstrate that in the store as well. Requires a lot of power, requires a lot of capability and a lot of horsepower in the store. So same thing with energy management is what we're worried about. And the same barriers within consumer electronics and what we have now are the same barriers that are going to be in the energy management space. I don't care if your device is coming from the utility. I don't care if it's coming and it's free. It's still going to be, if it's going to be part of a walled garden, you're going to end up not using it. If they give you a device that just tells you what your energy consumption is, and that's all it does, you're going to eventually take that and unhook it and put it in your kitchen drawer, and it's just going to become another piece of garbage because it's not allowing you to do anything. It's not interacting with you. It's not relevant in your life. So you can't actually make decisions when you're looking at it. So if I look at a chart, that just shows me all these bar charts about my consumption, and then there's a line chart over it that says this is what the median is. All that chart is telling me is that I'm consuming more than my neighbors, but they have the same house. They have one kid less. What can I do? And there's not enough information. There's companies like O-Power, they're sending information out. They're very, very good to help you get those suggestions. But the devices and the technology that can help you become much more energy efficient, they're going to have to overcome a lot of these barriers. They're going to have to overcome this. This is, by the way, a lot of people's house. Do any of you have DVRs? Cable? Just a couple? Nobody watches TV? It's a tough crowd. Well, you got your wireless network, and then you've got any number of other networks that are going on. Now the wireless network can actually be your thermostat network as well. You're going to have another wireless network attached to your home in the form of a smart meter. It's going to want to transmit data. At one point in time, the utilities will release that data, and you're going to want to be able to grab that information, especially if we go to any kind of time of use pricing or any kind of price adjustment or time of day type pricing. So you're going to want to have that information so you can understand what your consumption is, rather than getting your bill and seeing that your bill just went from $200 to $300 with very little explanation as to why, how, and what. So we deal with this on a regular basis. This is actually a very favorite slide when I'm working with the utilities. Like, as you decide you want to subsidize a full device and send it out to a consumer, and you mail it to them and say, you can just light this up. This is what they're trying to light it up in. And this is where it gets a little complicated. This is what we're trying to do, is we're trying to translate that. And we're trying to translate that into customer needs. So now that I've got this product, what can I do with it? And how long can I do something with it? So it's important to take all of that, bring it together, make it more efficient, set it at the right setting so it's not consuming as much power. Even our Geek Squad, when they're doing home energy audits, are changing power strips from the old power strips to get rid of more of the vampire power. So I do have a video, if we have time, I might be able to load up showing how a Geek Squad does the energy audit. Okay, so residential energy management study. I'm going to blow through it because I want to make sure you have enough time for questions. But it really is about save money for sure. So the data is going to show some interesting stuff. It is about saving money, but it has to be more. So it can't always be buy this or get this, or I'm going to provide this and you're going to save money. It actually has to do much, much more to get integrated into life. And the example I like to use is trash. So if you give me 3 trash bins, remember the blue ones? I don't know if everybody's still using those. In Jordan, I live out in Jordan, it's not the blue trash cans or the bins. When you handed me 5 bins and tell me to sort my trash as a single guy living in downtown Minneapolis, it was easy because all it was beer cans and then cereal and ramen noodle packages. So it was okay. But I've got 3 kids under the age of 5. I have a mountain of diapers. I have wipes and all this stuff that we're cycling through. And to start sorting all of that was just an impossibility. But if you had me 2 trash cans and say, here's the pictures of what go here, and here's the pictures of what go here, I'm actually bagging in 2 different locations and things like that. And the whole neighborhood's actually doing it, because we're not going to do it if all of us are out there sorting our trash. It just isn't going to happen. And then also waste management, and some of the waste companies have figured out that them sorting it is actually more efficient than us sorting it, because we always end up throwing stuff in there that doesn't belong there. So they have to sort it anyway, and it's cheaper, faster, just to make it super simple. Same thing with energy management. Same thing with energy efficiency. Simple, easy, effortless. That's what we're trying to get to. There's some interesting gaps. So there's a wide gap between the consumer interested in doing the right thing and knowing how to do the right thing. So that's the kicker. Everybody in this room knows how to do the right thing. My wife does not know how to do the right thing. And you know what? Frankly, doesn't care, because she's got a baby in one arm and a 5-year or a 4.5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old running around crazy, so she's just managing. So how do we make it easy for her to be energy efficient? I'd like to use her as an example, because it really is meaningful. She needs things that help her do things, not berate her for not doing things. So there's a big gap in that. We got to close that gap. Energy management must integrate itself into your life. It has to be part of your life. If it can be, if I can turn the lights off from here, if I can turn the basement off, just the basement, but leave the TiVo on so it's recording our favorite program and it's reducing the power consumption from here, that's incredible. And it's there, it's available, you can do it. That's an important thing. This is also, you travel a lot, I'm sure, for your speaking engagements. Oh, well, how long has it been since you've been on the road? Like
more than 10 years.
Oh, more than 10 years. So I'm traveling a lot right now. That's also why my wife needs more help, because I'm not home. When they announce over the intercom that the flight is delayed, you know, it used to be everybody's just like, oh, God, you know, oh. They don't do that anymore. Everybody runs for the outlet, and you see guys and people sitting up against the wall with a cord to the Apple iPhone. In fact, I've carried a smart strip because my phone's always dead too, and I'm like, hey, come on, let's just share the power. We're actually consuming more power, so they delay the flight. I wonder what the airport energy bill looks like. So if they could correlate that to the consumption of electricity to the amount of delayed flights, if they could just get on time, they're actually increasing their costs. I mean, and it's a fight for those outlets too, because I'm like, I got to call my wife. She's going to kill me. So.
I just came in, and there's a Volvo cross country with its lights on, PVM 091. I just want someone to go out. Their car is dead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. It's important information. So it's really important that it integrates its lifestyle into it, and then we also start using different power consumption things. So right now in the stores, in a couple of my test stores, we're selling some solar devices that help keep this powered. So while it's sitting on my desk, it's actually using solar to power it rather than an outlet. So pretty cool stuff. Still needs to be quite a bit more refined. And we must recognize that solutions cannot be one size fits all. So in order to be relevant in your life, it has to be relevant for you. Whatever's relevant for you is not going to necessarily be relevant for me. Okay, so this is my favorite slide, by the way. So we sell energy efficient TVs. And we have signs on them that say, this is an energy efficient TV. In California, every TV we sell, not by law, shows energy efficiency because we work with the utilities, and it's their sign too saying, get this TV because it's really it's much more energy efficient than anyone that doesn't have the sticker on it. The funny thing about it is, when it comes to TVs, I'm more concerned about the number of inputs than I am about the energy efficiency quotient of it, and of course the image quality. So that kind of shows you we got a long way to go in consumer electronics. So I love that slide because I usually show like the appliances. The first thing people look at is Energy Star. Energy Star. What's the Energy Star rating? What's the rebate on that? How do I get the rebate? Is there a rebate on the pickup? Is there a rebate on the disposal of it? You bet. They got it. They get it. They're looking for it. In fact, I just learned today that Bosch appliances actually they come out of the box at the optimum setting. They actually are trying to help the utility companies to understand that when they do a demand response or demand reduction, load reduction on their appliances, that they increase the power of the appliances. So when they send out the demand response signal to say, turn off that dryer or turn down that dryer, it actually removes the optimum setting and increases the power consumption. So it's really kind of wild. It's just really an outstanding thing for me. I was like, how do people know that? Well, you know, they don't. And but it is that. Think about appliance manufacturers now thinking about. I'm sending out the TV already adjusted. I'm sending out the appliance already at optimum levels. So it does take longer to dry in that setting. So you're not gonna, but it runs at a such much lower rate and stuff like that. Energy attitudes and then smart energy programs. How they appeal across lifestyles. I better blow through this. These are the three primary segments that we've got. So, and I'll show you the pie chart in a minute about how much makeup they have. There's home safeguarding, so don't get hung up on home safeguarding being home security. It's not about ADT. It's about protecting my investment. It's really about, I'm going to retire in 10 years, so is solar a good investment because we're staying in the house and I want to reduce my energy consumption bill. So if you're telling me that I can lop $20 off my monthly bill, I might be inclined to do that because I'm starting to see the value. So when we're on our retirement income, we're able to continue to pay our bills. Because we, typically it's like we came into some money and now we can afford it. So I'm going to get it because over the long term. Home safeguarding, maximizing their data, keeping their family safe, things of that nature. That nature of protecting their investments. Then there's life maximizing. These folks want to go for comfort. They understand technology and they probably actually have money to spend, but they also want comfort along with energy efficiency. And then there's the environmentalism. Now this isn't the category or this isn't the environmentalist activist. This is somebody who's conscious about the environment that wants to do something, and that might be a prime reason for buying some of these appliances. However, it doesn't translate into real purchases. So although they're very conscious about it, it kind of matches some of the other statistics, which is if it's all green, green doesn't necessarily cause people to buy. It has to do something else. It has to have the real benefit. But the other two actually make pretty good thing. So this slide, I really hate this slide because every time I show it, everybody goes, 49% say none. None. I don't want any energy efficiency. I don't care. That's not what the 49% are. There is a segment that is a very small sliver that doesn't care and won't do anything about it. And that would be probably not people who are bad. It's more like single guy. I don't care. I live in an apartment. I want to do it. I'm referencing myself because when I was living in downtown Minneapolis, I loved it, but I worked all the time. I traveled all the time. I went to the games and I went out to eat. Pizza Luce, I would have come earlier if you'd have told me that Pizza Luce was what you were going to have, because I used to walk home from the Loon and the last $9 I had in my pocket, I was standing in the line at 1 o'clock in the morning with everybody else getting the 2 slices of pizza and walking home to my apartment. So energy consumption was low on the list. Now with 3 kids, stay-at-home mom, you bet, we're very, very conscious about the consumption. The key here is there's life maximizing where they're purely life maximizing, it's only 2%. Where they're life maximizing overlap home safeguarding, that's 10%, then home safeguarding only, that's a big percentage of the population. That's a big segment of this group in terms of they're ready, they will, and they can if we can explain it right. And that would go for anybody who's selling any kind of renewable energy source or anything like that as well, I would assume. So, because we're actually toying with solar in the stores in California. So there's a couple of stores in California that sell solar, so solar panels. So that's an important driver. And then of course, the environmentalist only is 3%, but the environmentalists actually have a big chunk that are in the home safeguarding. So it's kind of an interesting population. So if you think about, 49% of a population are actually ready, even though the big category is none. And what I think, if you're familiar with adoption curves, everybody familiar with the bell curve, adoption curve? You have innovators, early adopters, then you have early mass. The early adopters, the tail end of the early adopters, and the early mass to the midpoint, they have the same characteristics of home safeguarding and life maximizing. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. So life maximizing, very comfortable with technology and knows technology will help them. All right, so there's the stats on them. Life maximizing, I guess I am still in life maximizing. I am 44. So I'm still, next year I guess is when I get the AARP stuff coming in the mail. And it will be addressed to Ms. Bowering too, by the way, because my name is Kristen.
Where does 58 fit in there? Where does 58 fit in there?
You can't be consuming anything because you're so old. I would say that home safeguarding is, I think, where that's where we run into that problem, because there's this aging population that has a strong technology appetite because the boomers have technology needs. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. For this one, they're generalities, but the main thing is safety. safety on my investment, and comfort will actually be one of the more important things. Energy efficiency and saving money, then what's the next thing? Yeah, I can be more energy efficient and I can protect stuff, so that kind of a thing. So there's this is, by the way, I had one of the guys on my team, I've had this running argument every time I've seen this chart before, isn't it innovators, early adopters, early mass? He's like, no, every time I've seen it, it's always been on this side. I'm like, that's usually the late mass. But there's a lot of things in there that go in there that Best Buy can help with, help the customer do. Vampire Power was a big initiative that we did. We did a lot of work with Vampire Power, and we continue to talk about it. So, and that's an important thing. So, so I think that the Life Maximizer and the Home Safeguarder will actually start to drive the adoption. So the 49% that is over here, or on the late adopters, or the late early mass, they'll drive the other half. So one of the things that when I had some customers walking through a mock-up of the home and energy management department at our headquarters, where we've got all the products and stuff like that, she actually said, you know, this really makes sense to me, because she actually said, this is more connected world for me than what you guys talk about in the store, because connected world to men can typically mean, wow, I can watch the football game on this? That's really great. For her, it's, I can turn off my lights, I can program things in my house, I can warm the house up before I get home and shut it down. That's doing versus watching and enjoying and stuff like that. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they drive it. But the next thing that she said was, wow, it's kind of like, hey, I can save money and impress my neighbors. Because she's looking at some control devices and things like that. And that is kind of what will happen. So automation and remote management. So what we're also seeing is it has to have an app. Whether or not they have the phone for it, but an Android app and an Apple app, it got to be on there. That's one of the most important, or at least one of the most popular things about all the energy management devices and things like that are coming out now. And that's not because the manufacturer is saying, hey, we all got to jump on this bandwagon. The customer is saying, I've got to have the app. And certainly if you get into the younger ages, and they're very concerned about their energy efficiency, they've got to have an app. All right. So compelling energy programs with automation and remote management, they just go up. There's still a big, highly desired neither. There's still that big population that's like, I'm not sure, you know. But they're also a good population that we could, you know, if we could just program their thermostat or get them to get a programmable thermostat. And I'll get into that in just a minute. All right. Now there's this interesting segment. So we look at energy optimists, or we look at what's starting to freak people out about energy consumption. This is actually going to become much, much more important. There are energy optimistic, where they believe technology can help them, and they're going to go do all this other stuff. There's worried but optimistic, worried and not optimistic, neither worried or not. And then there is a class in there that's like kind of really, really worried about energy consumption. And that would be me. So if we go to $5 a gallon gas, there's going to be a lot of people hurting out there. There's going to be a lot of what I would say is a tight budget that now is being, $200 a month is being added to the budget. And they're not, and nobody's going to be, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be in a position to be able to go, well, I'll just go buy a new car. Maybe I'll get an electric car and plug it in somewhere. So if we get to that point, it looks like we probably will. It seems like they're telegraphing the punch that we will. There's going to be that's going to be quite sensitive, and there's not a lot you can do about your gas if you still have to drive to work every day. But there is something you can do with your home, and so it could have a very dramatic impact. So before I go into transportation, it is about saving money, and the energy management devices that I'm seeing and that we're going to be carrying in the store, or at least in the 3 test stores I've got going on, they're cool, they're good, they do the work. They don't have to have a smart meter. Some of them want to be with a smart meter, but if you don't have a smart meter, we've got a product and service that will help you understand your energy consumption. They're easy. You know, they start with the little plug covers. So you can buy a kit with 3 of those plug covers, and we'll download the app onto your phone or onto your laptop, and you can go home and just plug in some of your, what you think are the biggest consumers of power, and begin looking at the power consumption. And all of a sudden, once you start to see that, so in the display area, it's going to look more like a house. I'm not going to build a house in the center of the store, but it's going to look more like a house. And when you go up and you play with some of these devices, you turn on the dryer, you're going to see a 5-second delay, and then the meter's going to go like that. And then whatever the utility company is, if they're in time of use pricing, you're going to see middle of the day, daytime time of use pricing. So it's going to, hopefully, when we're testing it, not in the lab environment, when we have customers come in and they start seeing their energy consumption, or they're playing with these devices, or they say, well, yeah, I've got a home theater downstairs, but I've got this old plasma TV that's this thick that is just, it does get kind of hot. I actually had to move it away from the wall because it's actually radiating that kind of heat. You're going to be able to see what your consumption is. You'll be able to upgrade into lighting control. So most people, for me, lighting control has always been like, no, that's like $25,000 worth of stuff. I'm not going to hook it up myself. I don't want to have to deal with it. It's being installed in my house next week, and it's only costing me about $1,200. But that's everything all in. That's most of my light switches. That also gives my wife a switch right here that has 6 switches on it, and one says up, or one says top, one says back, or something like that. But she can literally, as she's going upstairs, she can hit the top and it shuts down the house, except for the relevant areas that need to stay on. And she'll also have the same switch upstairs. And so it's not about dimming or anything like that. I'm not doing all of that. But we're talking about switches that are also going to communicate to a device. So my thermostat is a smart thermostat, and it's got a wireless radio in it as well. And so it's not your garden variety thermostat. You can be able to program it, but I'll be able to program it from my laptop. So I can program it from work, or I can pull it up anytime, and also begin to play with the lights. So can you imagine what my wife is going to go through when I'm out on these speaking events, and like I'm on the East Coast or I'm on the West Coast, and it's early there and it's late at home, and I'm switching the lights on for her so she can be even a little bit more nervous about me being gone. But that's coming, and the technology is pushing down, and it will communicate. It would be the same thing as I look at, so if I think about the solar players in the room, how is your solar doing? How is that going to be measured? The people that I've met with that have, the retired couple that we met with that talked about, hey, we came into some money, we got it, we live in Arizona, we're going to retire here in the home, this is a good deal. They spend a lot of time looking at their meter. So they go back out to their patio, and the meter's right there, and they actually watch it, and they're managing their energy because it's part of their life. It's kind of interesting and funny and important because how do I, from Best Buy perspective, how do I get these kinds of devices to you and show you how to use them in a way that's relevant to your life and get you going on them? Okay. So has anybody heard about any of the press releases? Best Buy kind of working with Ford. We're working with Mitsubishi and doing charging stations. And the Geek Squad actually is going into homes and doing home energy audits in some cases. I've already got them doing that for utilities. So we're doing home energy audits, and then they're now going in. So if you decide that you want to get on the list for an electric vehicle or even a hybrid, but you want a charger in your home, somebody has to go out and make sure that you can have a charger in your home. So in California, there's a lot of old houses. It's not really ready to have any kind of major charging, and plugging your car into a regular outlet is maybe a 10-hour charge. And that is going to affect your bill. So you want the better charging station. So, and we have sold electric motorcycles and electric bikes. So there are stores in California and relevant southern areas where we've got really cool electric bikes, and we did sell the electric motorcycle for a little bit. But the bikes, people go, yeah, it feels like Best Buy. The motorcycle, they're like, not really. So don't know where we're going to go with that. Might have been too soon in the market, but we are in the charging space. NRG in Texas, the charging stations will be in the parking lots of Best Buy. So as you drive into a Best Buy, you'll be able to pull up and actually NRG has a great plan. You just flash your badge and charge your car and come back out and you're done. So that'll also be happening. I believe in Hawaii is mandating that retail stores have things. But here's the thing. Electric vehicles. Number one fear is obviously, can I drive it where and when I need to, and will it go as far as I need it to go? And the customer perception on that is no. And you know what? Their perception is actually right. They're not going to be going far enough. Again, the city of Houston and NRG came together and decided you will never be more than 5 minutes away from a charger if you're in the Houston metro area. You drive an electric vehicle. So that's how many charging stations are going up. So we don't necessarily want to wait for that. But those are the perceptions. Will it meet my needs and lifestyle? It can't just be because it's green, but I want to get on it. Okay, so this is the most telling slide for us. Everybody knows about electric cars, and they know about electric scooters. Likely to purchase in 12 months, 8%, 1. This is fun. This is like a fun category. Yes, I'm going to purchase it because my tweener is demanding that he has something to ride to school. I mean, I had a motorcycle when I was in elementary and high school, and in Kansas, you could ride a motorcycle to school when you were 14. So that was cool. Probably shouldn't have given me a motorcycle, but it was good. So this is what, we all know about it, but we don't know what we're going to do, and nobody's in the market really to buy yet. Then we also look at the gap. So the desire to help the U.S. decrease dependence on oil is pretty darn low in comparison to, is it going to allow me to do what I'm used to doing? I rode the electric motorcycle. I have a Harley, so I rode this. It's dead quiet. Scared the crap out of me. I thought I was going to get hit by a car because I'm driving around in Ashland, Oregon, and it's a nice little town. This bike makes no noise whatsoever. Not even the wheels were humming along. But when I'm whipping around a corner, you see people who are like, whoa, you could hear me on a regular bike. Not even a motorcycle, but so there's, is it going to meet the needs and is it going to do anything? Concerns that the vehicle will not allow me to do the things I like. So I can't buy it if it's not my primary mode of transportation. So same fears. I think this is all just common knowledge. This is the one that I like the best though. This is the difference in their perception and their requirements of what it has to do versus what it does do. So I think it's really just a case for hybrids. As we continue to improve battery life and battery range, battery charging capability, and as new technologies, certainly at the ARPA-E conference last week, that's what they were talking about, was the different battery technologies and lithium technologies that they're going to be able to do. Some pretty outstanding experiments going on, nothing ready for real prime time. I will tell you the most impressive thing about the ARPA-E conference last week was the fact that they invested the government invested somewhere in the equivalent of 25 million to 30 million in these battery technologies or in a variety of technologies. But because the government invested in those technologies, the VC community invested an additional 100. So that's the kind of partnership that I think needs to happen. So if they got the seed money, prove the concept, walk to the VC, now the VC's saying there is a there, I'm willing to invest. So that's the kind of public-private partnership that I think needs to occur, and it could be in jeopardy. I hope not. I think there's a lot of bipartisan support for the ARPA-E group and what they're doing. Because I've been to both conferences, and both Republicans and Democrats actually do speak at that conference. So you've got both sides of the house in there, and very important. But that's where we're at on that, and I don't think. That's it. We also are doing CFL bulbs. We'll be doing LED bulbs. So I've got 180 stores that sell CFLs, things like that. So from a consumer-facing perspective, we don't have all the answers yet. We're just doing the best we can with what we got. And the new technologies are actually starting to happen even more. So the home energy management systems that you will be able to get into your home will be more common and ready to go. And you won't have to buy a new house to get it. And it won't cost you an arm and a leg to get it. And hopefully they'll continue to be modular in nature. So I think, is that enough information for everybody? I've got the whole study we could go through tonight, and you just turn it into a class. Any questions?
You mentioned that Best Buy got suppliers to ship their TVs, send their TVs.
Make changes? I don't think that we've gone that far. However, we have a product that then deadens it. So you have a power strip to do it, but remember your TV is actually going to become more connected, and it may be doing things for you on low power that you may not want it shut off. But there is power strips already that you plug it in. Once that power strip's told to go off, it's off completely. I know that if you do that with your TiVo, then it has to reset, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't record. So, but I don't think we've gone quite that far yet. Yes?
There's this little debate that has been for many years about, well, does any energy efficiency really conserve energy? Or does that just give us a room to grow more and grow demand? Have you looked at that?
Yes. Yes. So what you're saying is, hey, I'm saving more on my energy. I'm going to go get the other TV. I'm going to have a TV in my garage. I'm going to have one in my bathroom. I'm going to have one everywhere. Yeah, people do that. But the energy efficiency quotient of the products now is getting so good that we're going to reach a maximum point that again, that's why you might want the whole home shut down. So from my perspective, I'm not about curtailing lifestyle. So if you want to have a TV in your garage, by God, you have one. Just put one of these plugs and then plug it in that way. And that way, when you leave the house and you drive, or in the case of my wife, this is the most infuriating thing. You load up the 3 kids, you get all the car seats all buckled in, everything. It's an ordeal. And then you drive out of the driveway and she goes, damn it, I've got to go back in the house. Drive in the garage, turn the car off, shut the garage door, go in the house, come back out. Just to turn off something when she could have done it at the stop sign with her smartphone. So people are, I've got a chart, I didn't show it, I brought it, but it shows the consumption of consumer electronics. It isn't going down. And in fact, it's going to go up because there's going to be things that need to be there, like home telemedicine. So if you look at the Cisco commercial on their telepresence or their Yumi product, that may lower a cost over here because I'm not going into a hospital to have the normal diabetes monthly check. I'm already good and I'm doing it over video communication and I've got my TV going, but I need this TV and I need additional wireless network and additional bandwidth. So the consumption, I think it's going to be an interesting trade-off. But if that TV is really highly rated and it can be shut down, then I think that's what we're going to see. But you're exactly right. People aren't going to, not everybody is going to decide that they're going to starve off their lifestyle. Yes?
See, on your pie chart, you have a large part of the population who's just either unaware or unconcerned about conservation or efficiency or whatever. Now, it would be, since Best Buy is vested into these conservation efficiency verticals, it would behoove you to have these people come on board and become aware, because then you could sell your energy efficiency products to them. So is Best Buy doing anything to educate these uneducated people?
Yeah. Yeah, I do a lot of these speaking engagements. You guys just happen to all be educated, but I do a bunch where people are like, you know, it's all about consumer electronics and it's all about consumption and things like that. We have the same kind of discussion. In the energy management department, I wish I could have shown you a picture of it. We've gone through 3 iterations of it, and now we'll be on the 4th iteration. The whole premise there is to be able to start the journey of energy efficiency. So hopefully when you walk in the store and you see it, you're going to go, well, wait a second, what is that? And then you go over there and you're talking to an associate who is an expert in energy efficiency, and they're able to say, well, wait, you know, before we do anything, let's just take the quick self-assessment. Here's an iPad, go through your house. Do you see what consumption can do? Because then every other product in the area starts to go, okay, wait a second. You're telling me if I buy this $20 LED bulb and put it in a couple of key places, it's going to last for 10 or 15 years, and it's going to consume less, and the light looks pretty good enough. Yes, that's the beginning of your journey. Or the Geek Squad comes out and does a home energy audit and replaces things for you. Or you determine that you would like more than a thermostat. You want security from like an ADT Pulse energy management system, and you want it hooked up. So that's where the journey begins. And hopefully I am working with the utilities too. There's the opportunity for the utility to fan out to customers that don't go to Best Buy and say, you can get it at Best Buy, and if you can't get to a Best Buy, we'll send them to you. So that's a key thing. So in Southern California, a single mom with 2 kids, she's not coming to Best Buy. We got to get to her. So the utility and I are kind of working on how do we get to a single mom with 2 kids and help her become more energy efficient and make it really easy. And they have low income programs and such like that and so forth. Yes?
Just that, when I go into a store, I don't actually see anything about energy consumption of the things out there. And there's the mandatory Energy Star thing. But I wanted to get a TV at Best Buy.
Awesome.
Because
Did you get a good one?
there's
Like
one
super
top
thin,
10
and very big.
Lists the very most top 10 efficient of many categories. This one was at the absolute top of the TV. It was like 50% better than the second one. You had it in your stores on sale. I went in, nothing. I mean, no idea. And maybe there's not enough interest. Maybe people don't care enough that you don't waste the information. I don't see it.
No, not here. A lot of it is driven by our utility partnerships. So the utility partnership, so we're in California where the customers want to know because they're paying $300, $400, $500. Some of those people, some people they have like $600 or $800 electric bills or utility bills. Are just really shocking to us here where $120 bills is a lot. But we're getting more and more partnerships. So I think that, and Excel is a great company. We talk to them all the time. They like us. They're just not there with us yet. So are we prepared to do it on our own just yet? Not quite, but we're close. Yes?
Could you talk about how tiered pricing on power,
Yeah, time of use.
yeah, how that affects your pie charts as far as that interest level? Is it the same in California that there's 50% of people who just don't care and can't be interested?
No, in California, I think it's a bit different. I think that stat, if I did just California, that would be different. Most people are very energy conscious in California. I think, oddly enough, Arnold Schwarzenegger, if you love him or hate him, whatever, he was very, very focused on sustainability. He's one of the few Republicans I know that stood up and said, I believe in the climate change issue. I'm with you on that. And he actually said that last week when he was speaking. He said, but his point was not climate change or economic stability. It doesn't matter, is what he was saying. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. The energy efficiency has to happen, and that's what everybody needs to agree. But in California, the cost, time of use pricing, as soon as you get that meter, they're putting you on time of use pricing, which might actually be more closely related to what your actual cost is for them to serve you versus the flat rate that's always been around. The time of use is like your water heater going out. So when you move from non-time of use to time of use, you're in an event, and that would trigger a different sense. But the cost is already higher than what we do here anyway. It's very interesting though, if you think about California and then you think about Seattle or Portland, Oregon, where it's all hydropower, and the cost of power is very, very, very low, and yet lots of solar going up, lots of sustainable homes, lots of zero carbon homes. They're actually really doing it well. And in fact, we'll be moving our Geek Squad audit teams into there because people are requesting that. So it has, there's a cultural aspect, and then there's an event aspect, and then there's a technology aspect and a coolness aspect. So there's many different ways, but typically if your bill goes up by 50, 60, maybe even $100 a month, you'll look for ways to, that's kind of what the nervousness that I have about gas going up so high is that people are going to be clamoring for a solution, and it could be very difficult for them to find a solution. Because you can't change your gas consumption as easily as you could your electricity.
I mean, try and characterize the magnitude of that as far as impacting that group of people.
In terms of the people that I think they're going to be on the bubble with the gas price, or in terms of California versus everybody else?
Well, in terms of California or the other places where there's tiered pricing, and how much of an effect, those things have on people's interests.
Yeah.
Is it,
I think I actually have that information. I just didn't bring it. But the utilities and I, we share a lot of our research. So they're actually now very open to discussing it with us. So I'm sure that I could. I've been thinking about it, but it's been haven't done it.